Now, 107 days on this journey of semen retention. 107 days. And I'm starting to become the hero that I always needed. The superhero that I always wanted to become. You know, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to become some sort of superhero. I thought it was possible. And I'm starting to realize now that it is. You know, look around you. Look around you. There are no heroes at all. Everybody's just out there for themselves, for their own personal gain, right? Nobody actually wants to help people. Nobody actually wants to save people. Where are the heroes? You know, in every single Avengers movie, the heroes win. The heroes inevitably win, right? And the bad guys don't seem too much like a bad guy. They usually have a pretty good reason, right? And that's how this real world is. Some of these quote-unquote bad guys have a pretty good reason to be a bad guy, whether it's for money's sake or they truly believe that they are trying to save humanity by moving it forward, by developing AI or whatever. And we all know how that turns out. We all know how that ends up. We've seen the movies before. We've seen, Terminator. We've seen all these different movies. We've seen what Voltron does in the Avengers movies. It doesn't turn out good. And the only reason that those movies, they don't turn out too horrible, the world is actually saved, is because heroes exist. But now you look around at this cinematic universe and you start to realize that there are no heroes. Where are they? Where are they? And you have to understand that it starts with us. It starts with this generation. All the heroes, existed maybe 100 years ago now. And they dissipated and they just, Father Time took them away. But where is your, herohood? Where are you? Where is your cinematic just heroicity? Where are the heroes? Because the thing is, if we don't do it, no one will. This world is filled up with straight villains, straight supervillains, comic level supervillains. And they don't have superpowers per se. I mean, somewhat, they got magic and everything like that on their side. They got dark magic, But you have to become the heroes. You have to train like you're becoming a hero, like you're going to save the world. You have to have that mentality, because then that starts to shape what you start to become. I'm extremely selfish in nature. I do everything for my own benefit, of course, but I don't want to lose the plot along the way. I want to save the world in some sort of a way. I have this craving. I've always had this craving ever since I was a kid. And it feels like it's my calling to try to help, to try to just formulate this sort of change within the world. And how do you do it? Because we don't have powers in this cinematic universe. Unfortunately, there's no superpowers just yet. Maybe they're on the way, though. Maybe we can be the first to, achieve that. And but also being a superhero is not about, having powers. That would be great if you can, have some sort of powers. But it's about having the hero's heart. Along this journey, you have to develop your heart. And develop it in the way of having a hero's heart, and there will be villainous attributes to you. There will be dark parts to you, And you might end up becoming some sort of anti-hero or even a fucking villain in this process. But you have to try with all your heart to become the hero that you always wanted to become, that you always wanted to actually exist in the world. And that doesn't mean that you gotta fucking try to save people. You gotta be climbing up rooftops and jumping off of them and just like soaring through the sky like you're Batman. I mean, you could go down that route, but it's gonna take you a lot. You might need billions of dollars and this and that. You might need a lot of resources that you may not have. But you can start. You can just start trying to become a hero. Start trying to develop your body in a way that it looks heroic. You have the muscle mass that a superhero would have. You start to develop the mentality that a hero would have. That's why I love, I'm such a nerd, man. I love Captain America. He's one of the best, heroes in the Marvel just universe. He's dope because he got the serum. He got the super serum because of his heart. Anyone else could have got it. Anyone else with the capability, with the strength, with all the other attributes could have got that serum. But Steve Rogers had the heart in order to become a hero. And that's what you have to sort of develop along this journey. This journey is going to help you become a hero. A lot of movies, a lot of cinematography, a lot of anime references, the power of just your energy, especially anime. Dragon Ball Z is profound in that sense. A lot of people don't like how Goku in the show, if you haven't watched it, the main character is Goku. And he just is always pushing past his limit and always just surpassing what he was. Because he just tries harder and he believes that he can and he trains his fucking ass off. Right? And he has the heart of a hero. And a lot of people don't like that about the show. They say that he just power scales too much. That he just breaks every limit. It just doesn't make sense anymore. The power scale doesn't make sense. He could just do anything. But that's the wrong mentality to have. That's the mentality that most people will just have throughout life. That there's some sort of limitation to this. But Goku understood the assignment. Nobody before him, no Saiyan. Saiyan is his race, his alien race. And nobody had became a Super Saiyan. No one had surpassed a certain power level of Saiyanhood. But he just believed that he could. And then he had the heart to do it. And then he became it. And then all the other Saiyans in his race followed because they understood that limitation was broke. And then once they saw that limitation was broken, they were able to achieve that as well. Very quickly, very, very soon after. So it just takes one person to break the limitation of belief. And the thing is, everything in this cinematic universe is backed up by quantum physics. Physics on a quantum just scale. Just everything is always in motion, right? And it is said that we shape our reality as we go. Like time folds as we exist. We help everything shape into a material sense, right? So if that is what we are capable of on an atomical scale, a very small quantum scale, then we are just capable of unfolding anything, right? And we can get to a point of, superpower potential, But that's going to take an immense amount of belief, and you're going to have to dedicate your life to it. But regardless of that, regardless of the superpower side of it, you can achieve just the superhero, just the heroism of just developing your character and shaping your reality to the way that you want to. It is backed up by science that as long as you just believe and put in the work behind it, and the work is just a manifestation of your belief. If you believe in yourself and believe that certain things are capable of happening, you will just do it. You will just get it done because you already believe that, that reality exists, and you'll do the things necessary in order to get there. So you have to just, along this journey of semen retention, your heart becomes more powerful. The energy within you becomes more potent. Naruto, another show, talks about, power scaling and chakra and channeling your chakra in order to just, have the capability of using your power in the right sort of way, and that could end up becoming evil if it's put into the right hands, or it can become, real good. It depends on the person. But you should try everything in your power to become that hero. The world has enough fucking villains, right? Now you can go along and do whatever you want, but you should, do what you want. But I'm going to choose to be a hero and try my very best to become that hero. And even if I become some sort of anti-hero vigilante, I'm going to fight for what my heart believes. And that's what's going to make me a hero. Eventually one day, I want my kids to look up to me like I'm a superhero. I feel like a lot of kids look up to their parents like that, in that sort of sense. But then as they grow older, I never want that to fade away, because I want to just keep getting better and keep showing them that anything is possible, that there is no limit, there is no limitation. That is why I make these videos, to show you guys that there is no limitation in this world. And I'm just getting started on just resetting up my life for just success. My mind has completely changed within the past 107 days along this journey. Once I broke that belief that I was somebody who was just, drawn and addicted to lust, once I broke through that barrier, I came to the realization that anything is possible. And then that made me be able to just manifest things quicker, get more lucky, because I truly just believe in myself and my capability, and I'm not afraid. That's the thing. You cannot be afraid. You cannot have no fear when trying to just achieve and accomplish your dreams. You just have to go for it. You cannot be afraid within this process, or else that's it, game over. Nothing will come into fruition if you have some sort of fear. That's why you have to, just have the courage to just pursue, no matter what comes your way, no matter what obstacle comes your way. You have to just pursue and push past it. This world is full of fucking supervillains. Comic book level supervillains. Fucking Jeff Bezos looks like fucking Lex Luthor. Like The Boys. If you guys watch the show The Boys, that is a real accurate depiction of, what is going on behind the scenes of just the government in general. They don't care about you. They're just doing it for their own selfish desires. They give zero fucks about you. So you have to become a hero on an individualistic level. And that will inspire other people to become heroic as well. And then you will start to create, an army an army of people who actually have some sort of self-belief, some sort of self-purpose. And that right there will just change the world in such a positive way. The biggest way to change the world is by, listen, everything in this world has a conscience. Everything, not just people, not just animals. We have, as humans, we have emotions behind us to back up our conscience and make things happen within our reality. But everything has a conscience. The trees around us, fucking inanimate objects, because they are in motion, they have a conscience, but they lack the ability to have the emotional capability to actually, produce any sort of change. But we are lucky enough to do that. And there's not a lot of people out there that understand this on a fundamental level, that understand the capability that they actually have in this world. Because, like I said in my last video, or 2 videos back, I don't even remember anymore, but most people are NPCs. They're non-playable characters. They have a conscience, because everything has a conscience, but they lack the ability to have any sort of self-belief. They're just robots. Like they're already like they're the Walking Dead. But if you have this like mindset within you to grow and change, you are capable of that. It is scientific. It is all of the shit that I'm saying is scientifically backed up. Right? It's scientifically backed up that we can change things on a molecular level. The law of attraction is not it's not just some made up bullshit. It's backed up by science. Right? Now if you increase your heart chakra by just elevating your semen, this just goes down a whole rabbit hole of just a deep level of understanding, okay? You can connect it through religion. You can connect it through anime. You can connect it through science. It's all interconnected. All of these different topics, when these creators made these animes, they didn't understand, how chakras really worked and all that. That just came from the fucking universe, because all the information already existed. And then for you to go along your journey and figure out, how to maneuver, there will be cheat codes and just like messages put out there for you to consume and be like, oh wait, that's how it all works. So if you're somebody who, started watching anime as a young kid, that will help you, if you try to look through that deeper level of understanding of the show. It will help you, figure out, how we as humans actually operate. If you grow up in any fucking religion, like any religious household, the same idea. So there's many different ways to discover how humans work, how just manifestation works. And it's down to a quantum, level. Do your own research. Like, look these things up. You have all these resources for a reason. You're on YouTube right now. Just type it in on YouTube. How does manifestation relate to quantum physics? And then you'll see what I'm talking about. Use these tools. Use these tools to better your reality. Because once you get to a point of deep understanding of how reality actually works, then, and only then, you are capable of creating whatever you want in this reality. With the power of self-belief and just like consistent just resilience. Fighting against, all the bad shit that might be thrown your way. Because you just have so much self-belief and kind of how the story ends. And then you do everything in your power to get there. you know? And that's how the law of attraction works. That's how it all works. You know, you start to turn into this new character. That's why it's so important for me to try to become this sort of hero. Because that's the character I want to be. That's the character I always wanted to be. Think about who you wanted to be when you were a kid. Remember those dreams and try to get back to that point of your reality and existence. I'm telling you right now, that will make you the happiest person in the world. If you are fulfilling your dreams from when you were a kid, that will make you the happiest person in the world. And it all starts from the insides. It all starts from the inner work. You know, you have to fix your interior to change your exterior. That's why semen retention is so important. You know, not being addicted to lust is so important. Yes, seminal fluid has actual power within it, of course. But at the same time, it helps a lot of different things. It helps reset your dopamine. It helps, you know, spawn your creativity. It helps you just connect to the source of the universe. And a lot of people won't understand this. They'll think it's crazy. They'll think it's all this shit. Like, a lot of girls that like are into astronomy and all this stuff, like, they're kind of sort of right when it comes to certain things. Like, the time you are born and all this different shit does determine a lot for you. But then from there, that's like your set character base, right? And then from there, you can develop whatever the fuck you want. But you have to incorporate God with you. How do you do that? It is in my belief, right? My own belief that you just have to make your story so epic, so like unignorable, that God starts to pay attention. And then God is really, real intrigued by you because, you know, he is part of you. And you have God key within you. You are partially God, right? You have to understand that as well. So you have to realize that God is on your side. Only if you make this story just epic, just the most epic story that you can create out of your life, God will start paying attention. Start talking to God, you know? Start praying, start manifesting. You have to know your direction. You have to have goals set out for you in order to actually get to the destination. You have to know where the fuck you're going. You have to have a roadmap in order to actually get to the destination. It's like having a GPS setup, right? If you just have a GPS setup and never type in the destination and just try to find and figure out where the fuck to go, you may get there, but it may take you way fucking longer, or you may never get there. But you have to put in that directions. So you have to put in that set goal and hyper focus on that. So then you can get to that destination. That's how you manifest. And like I said, you have to make your story epic. You have to make God start to pay attention to you. Start talking to him. You know, start being more fucking grateful. Start just being, the thing is, you have to be happy in the moment. You already have to be happy with yourself without having the money, without having, you know, maybe the fame you want, without having the career you might want. You have to just be happy in the moment and be grateful for everything that you have. And then things will start to come. You will see. And it's very hard to think like this because everyone around you is going to try and bring you down. And I feel like the longer I go along this journey, that is purposefully done. You know, there are demons attached to these people, right? Some sort of demons or some sort of entity that is trying to hold you back from your potential, right? So if you just ignore the fuck out of that, ignore the fuck out of your direct reality, and then just hyper focus on the reality that you want, and really give that emotion that you feel like you already exist in that reality, and create that roadmap and make your story epic, you will inevitably get there. And if you have the power of the seminal fluid within you, then boom, like you're good to go. And this is more esoteric when I talk about something like this, and this isn't to get like real religious or anything like that, right? I'm not trying to disrespect anyone's religion. This is just based off my own beliefs and my own conclusions off of doing research from like different philosophers, different religions, and just everything in general, science, modern day science, quantum physics, just doing research and diving into all of that, right? And trying to close the gap between all of it, because it's all interconnected. This is something that people need to understand, but they never really will, because the idea of religion, disconnects you from the idea that it could all be connected, right? Because you're going to believe in your religion, which you should, but I feel like it's a trick, But Jesus had died at 33, right? It's not a coincidence. He was a real person. Like, historically, he existed. And he died at 33, or was killed at 33. You have 33 vertebrae within your spine, And in order for you to, I forget how like it actually works, but in order for your chakra to get up to heaven, like your chakra is within your nuts. That's where it starts, the whole Kundalini thing. It starts from there. And then over time, as you store up all of that, and you try to charge it up and, meditate and do all that, you can get it to your pineal gland, which is a state of just like Christ-like consciousness. It's deeper than that. I'm not explaining it in the best sort of fucking way, to be honest. Yet again, do your own research on this, but this is the fucking Cliff Notes version of it. But in order to, obtain that heavenly just godhood within you and have that Christ-like conscious, you need to go along this journey of semen retention in order to get there. That's what a lot of people don't understand. This practice has been around for such a fucking long time. And, modern day doctors, of course, will tell you that you shouldn't do this, that you're going to have, prostate problems and all this, in order for you to deter from your path of actually, getting the semen to your pineal gland and actually creating the reality around you that you desire. Because also, everyone around you is just a reflection and pieces of you. Everything is sourced from light. It's just light reflecting off of each other. This is going everywhere. But like, if you understand kind of a thing. You have to do your own research. You have to read books. Books are out there for you in order to gain the proper knowledge. It is all out there for you. The Gospel of Thomas within the Bible was removed from the Bible because it tells you, that you are God, that you have the ability to create, to unfold. Jesus, in a sense, he never wanted religion. This is the biggest misconception ever. But nobody will deep dive or question it because they may have grown up religious and they can't question it, because then it's blasphemous, then it's this, then it's that, right? But God's main message was never to create religion, never to worship man, never to worship the churches. No, it was to just worship thyself, like better thyself, and get to a point where you don't need anything, where you're happy with you. And you create the heaven around you that you want. Otherwise, you create the hell around you. That's why people just end up in these cycles of just misery for their entire life. And they can't come to this comprehension and understanding that it's on them. that all of that is happening because of them. And their ego is too tied to their reality that they can't even, they can't even like admit to themselves that it was all on them. Like when you spawn in as a baby, you don't have all these fucking problems. You create them all as you go along. Really think about that. You create all of your problems around you. Nobody else like created these problems. Sometimes, problems, things just do happen. Of course, it's life. But for the most part, you create your own problems. So if you can, reverse that and create your own benefits and, really start to become that hero, start to really create some sort of epic story, then God will help you out, and then you will be able to experience heaven on earth. Don't wait until it's too late to try to experience heaven. You can experience it now, right? If you can just fix who you are on the inside and be happy, be truly happy with who you are. And that only happens from, a lot of the time, self-destruction. You usually build up this character that you end up hating, that ends up controlling you, but you just have to get back to who you were supposed to be and become that character, and that's going to make you happy. That's going to fulfill you, and you will feel like you are in this heavenly place that you truly create, and nobody else could, nobody could hurt you in that state, in that flow. Change your environment, change your character, change your mindset. Become that fucking hero that you were always supposed to be. That from when you were a kid. You owe it to him. And I believe in you. I know you could do it. But like a lot of this journey is just fixing who you are. Becoming the better version of you from the inside. And then the outside of your world becomes so much better. Everything feels so much sweeter, and everything just flows, everything just works, everything flows like water. And that's just my theory, that's just my philosophy, I suppose. I could be horrifically wrong. I could be so blasphemous and go to hell for eternity for this and that, but I am not afraid. If that is the consequence, then so be it. But this is what I believe in. This is what I stand by. So if you guys, want to try this journey or are along this journey, just like keep on going. And if you haven't started yet, just try it the fuck out. Like, it will change your life. It will change your perspective, and it makes you closer to source, the source consciousness. So you will just have more of a fundamental understanding of how everything works. And it will just better your life in every single way. I'm telling you right now, man. As always, I love you guys. It is hot as fuck in this car. But I love you guys like always. Peace out.